Hey everybody, this is Drew with theloamwolf.com. Thanks for tuning in today as we're going to take a look at the Smith Squad XL goggles. We've been running these goggles now for several weeks, gone to 3 different bike parks, and got about 12 solid days of riding from like first chair till sundown, and feel like we've got a pretty good impression as to how these things perform and wanted to share a little bit of our feedback with you guys. Right here I've also got the new Smith mainline helmet. I'll put the helmet on a little bit later and kind of show you guys what the goggles look like mounted up and on a rider. So let's get right into it and take a look. First up, you'll just notice the absolute size of the lens on these things. The Smith Squad XLs, as you could imagine, it is an extra large lens designed to give you a lot more field of view and visibility. That is something that we definitely noticed, especially out of the top of the lens up here, which is really great for the downhill and mountain bike application where you're going down steep terrain and your head's gonna be down and trying to look up out of the top of the goggle. We really liked that field of view. Something else that was really nice in terms of features on the goggles is the ventilation. Both here on the top and at the bottom of the frame, there are some nice open vents, as well as some open pass-through channels in the lenses themselves. A downside to these big open vents is if you ride in an area that's real loamy, maybe muddy, got kind of some large loose debris that gets flung up as you're skidding or drifting around corners or down the steep chutes, it could get into the goggle. We had, in 12 days of, like I said, sun up to sundown riding, only had about 2 or 3 pieces kind of fling in there. So it's not something that happens every time you're out on the bike, but it happens enough to where we think it's worth mentioning. So, usually they'll just bounce around in there until you stop and pull over and empty them. Which brings us to our next point. There is no outrigger on this goggle. So when you put it on, or when you put the goggles on inside a helmet, normally having those outriggers gives you a spot to make those little fine-tuning adjustments, make sure you got the goggles placed just right in a comfortable spot. It's a little bit trickier. I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely a nice, convenient thing to have an outrigger that you can kind of easily grab, move those goggles, and sort of place them exactly where you want them. The goggles do stay put very well once they're on, thanks to this really large and wide strap with 2 silicone strips here. Adjusting the goggles is easy thanks to these large tabs. They've got little kind of indexed curves, and you can pull that, cinch it up, loosen them up very easily. There's also a triple layer foam that helps keep the sweat out of your face and out of your eyes especially. It's comfortable, does a good job of wicking sweat. It's nothing super fancy or amazing, but it does the trick. Lens changing is pretty easy on these. You just kind of pull it open, pop them out. Smith does ship the goggles with a little goggle bag and a spare set of clears. There are a number of options available, and the lenses are really where the magic starts to happen with these goggles. So if you've read many of the reviews on our website, you'll know that we are big fans of Smith's Chromapop technology. We've kind of laughingly referred to it as eye doping. And having that technology in these goggles is really awesome. The Chromapop technology really gives us good definition on the trail. We can see a lot of shadows, we can see roots, lines, ruts, rocks and debris, anything that's kind of out in the trail. Having that Chromapop really gives you a good, clear, sharp, defined image, and lets you kind of just see where you do and don't want to be when you're out on the trail. A mirrored lens, as you could imagine, is a little bit dark for some shadowed or wooded applications. Out in the sunlight, this is their red everyday mirrored lens. It's phenomenal. The vibrant colors that you see, the views out off the mountain are great. The bright lit terrain is definitely good. It's not making you squint like a clear lens would be, but offers a little bit more kind of like tint than some of the other options out there, but isn't so dark that when you get into the woods, as you transition from full sun to full shade, that you're like struggling to try to make out tree roots and shadows. There's a couple other mirrored options available, I think one of which is the rose colored. That's one that we we'll hopefully be able to try sometime in the future, as we think that might be a little bit better for riders that spend a lot of time in the shade or wooded areas. If you're out in the sun, they've got darker, bright sunlight options, which is kind of like a all black look, and several other mirrored options as well, which would do great for, again, full sun or full exposed rides. Smith also has several different lenses available, not only in color but in treatments. They're all anti-fog treated, which is great, and the fog fighting capabilities of the goggles are only enhanced by the vents and that treatment. But they've got everything from Chromapop to kind of your base level clear lens, and that will sort of bring the price of the goggle down. I think they start around $55 and go up to $85 if you want to go with a mirrored Chromapop lens. In our opinion, if you're going to spend the money and you have it in your budget, Chromapop is the way to go. It is definitely a better picture. It's going to be more enjoyable. Not only will it be a little safer because you get great definition, but when you stop to just enjoy the scenery and the view, that Chromapop's just going to really make the scenery and terrain look that much better around you. So I'm going to throw on this Smith mainline helmet here, show you guys just what it looks like on. And alright, so here are the goggles. As I said, they fit well inside. Obviously, it's a Smith helmet. We've been running these goggles with a number of different helmets just to make sure that they fit and work well. They do. But when you go to put them on, right, and you want to make that adjustment, as you can see, normally if you had an outrigger, you could kind of make those adjustments easily. Right now, you kind of have to find a spot or pull the strap and get it out to get them settled into your place. This Smith helmet is obviously designed to work with these goggles, so they don't have to move very much once you put them in. They just go where they're supposed to be and they settle. Something that we do wish the goggles had is a nose covering or a nose piece, especially for long days out in the bike park. Having that little bit of sun protection would be a really nice feature. It's definitely something where we like to have a little bit of nose covering there. Just again, it's the sun's brutal out on the mountains, so that's something we wish that they would add. And beyond that, there's not a ton for us to really critique on the goggle. If you watched our recent shootout, you'll know that one of the big things with us in goggles is the fact that they are a piece of protective equipment. They're not as stiff, as you can see, as like the Oakley air brake or the Liat Velocities. They've got some flex that does allow it to conform to the face a little bit nicer, but it doesn't quite offer that, that bulletproof face plant security that some of those other goggles offer. However, they are still impact rated and certified, so we do have a lot of faith in these. They feel much sturdier and stouter than the predecessor Squad goggles, so that is a definite plus. The optical clarity, the vision, the field of view are all stellar points on this goggle and make it a real standout. So the biggest takeaway was that we wish it had a little bit of a nose covering for some sun protection, but beyond that, definitely one of our favorite goggles out right now. We will be wearing this thing a lot more in the rest of our bike park review tour that's going on right now, and just local shuttle days here around Bend. So all right, folks, so that is the Smith Squad XL MTB goggle. Thank you guys for watching the review. Definitely suggest you check these things out if you're in the market for some new goggles. Appreciate you watching, and we hope to see you out on the trails.